Hare Krishna. The question is raised, is religion a spiritual science? Yes, a true religion is a spiritual science in the strict meaning of the word science, yes. It's a more subtle science. It's not that you can expect it's like you have a scale and that you put the religion there, or that these proofs that we have, evidences that we can, that is something that can be measured on a scale. That's an example. That you put it there and it says, okay, let's say 2.26. It is a much more subtle science. This Krishna consciousness is a science purely. It's just like we have theory and praxis. We can compare with physics, for instance, that is known as a science. So you start out, you don't know anything about physics, or you don't know much. So you try to find a bona fide teacher. Same here. Tadvidhi pranipatina pariprashnina sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. You have to go to one who has seen the light, one who has seen the truth, spiritual teacher. He can impart this knowledge unto you. Upadekshanti te jnanam. So same principle, already you see, same principles. You have to find a bona fide teacher. So now you come to the teacher, still the same example, physics. So you'll see that the teacher is speaking something. He's presenting some theories, and he has his books also, by previous teachers also. So first of all, I think we can agree that what is the first thing that you'll be attentive of is that whether the books and the teacher is speaking the same thing, right? If there is some disagreement there, either there's something wrong with the teacher or with the books. So you have to see that the books and the teacher are saying the same thing. Next is you have to see whether it is logical, consistent. Just like in mathematics, 2 + 2 is 4 and so forth. Similarly, there are some rules of logic that anyone agrees upon. So the theory should make sense. They should be logical. So all right, now and all the ends meets. All the ends are meeting. So it sounds like some plausible theories. So this is a theory. All right, now you want to verify whether it's true by experiment, by praxis. So you make the experiment, and you make the experiment just as the teacher has told you, and just as is explained in the books, which is the same. So that you make the experiment, and you're supposed to get the result, which are told by the teacher and given in the books. So if you don't get that result, what will happen then? You should consult the books or the teacher, right? That's the way you do it. So you go to the teacher and say, well, I didn't get the result that you explained and that was explained in the books. So I think there's something wrong with your science here. And then, or there may be something wrong with your science. So the teacher will say, well, did you perform the experiment? Did you do it correctly? Well, yeah. So then we'll go back and the teacher will show you how you actually did not perform it correctly. Then you do the experiment correctly and you see that you get the result. So Krishna consciousness is just exactly the same, no difference. You do the experiment. First of all, just like you come to the teacher, it's your responsibility to find a bona fide teacher. You see that what the teacher and the books and the previous teachers are speaking is the same. You see that there are no logical fallacies. You do the experiment, you get the result which are described in the theory. So there's no difference. Just the thing is that this is a much more subtle science. You cannot see the soul. You cannot measure the soul. The size of the soul is described. It's 1/10,000 part of a tip of hair. Totally minutely, you cannot see it. But the soul is there. Immediately when the soul leaves the body, the eyes cannot see, the nose cannot smell, the tongue cannot taste, the ears cannot hear. because of the consciousness, because of the soul, the spiritual element. Everything is not just chemicals and molecules. There are two elements, matter and spirit. They're two different, totally different, like totally opposite. And they have different qualities. For instance, matter is temporary and always changing. Spirit is eternal. So the spirit, soul, and the symptom of spirit is consciousness. Actually, the body is just a corpse. It's already dead. It cannot see, it cannot touch, nothing. Only because the soul is there is consciousness. The idea of fixing the body by what's it called? A transplantation. Anyway, whatever the exact, however the pronunciation is, then that is just a temporary solution. Just like if you can say the body you can compare with a car, and the person you can compare with the soul. It's just that like that. The person is important, not the car. The car is not much importance. It's very, very secondary. If there is a car crash, your mother is in a car crash, you would immediately ask, how is my mother? You will never ask, is the car okay? Are we insured? That will come later on. The car is totally secondary. The person inside is important. Yeah. So the person inside is important. The person and the car, two totally different things. So only because of the person, the car is going and it looks alive, just like a mother or a child will ask or will tell her mother, "Oh, my dear mother, the car looks like it's alive. The car is alive." But the mother is more intelligent. She will say, "No, the car." She knows. She has knowledge. She knows the car is not alive. The car seems alive because there is the element. There is a person. That which is alive is inside, is controlling, manipulating the matter. That's why it looks alive. So these bodies are just dead, just like a car, but it looks alive because the person is there. So. This is how we should see it, that there is spirit and there is matter, and they are totally different, and the spiritual element is the consciousness, and you cannot produce consciousness by any combinations of chemicals, right? Actually, this Krishna consciousness is the real science. This modern so-called, it is just so-called science. This is modern so-called science. It is not real science actually, because science means observation and experiments. But where is the observation and experiment that has that matter has created life, that the raw chemicals have created life? Never ever, and there will never be in the future. Or never, it is not possible. So it is not actually real science. They're just bluffing. It's just in the name of science, but the most simple points they cannot explain, just speaking big words. But actually it's not science. We are providing the real science and giving real knowledge. Like to make an advanced machine is not real knowledge. That is not real knowledge. Real knowledge is who am I, what is the purpose of life, what's going to happen when I die. Is there an eternal world? Does God exist? What's real happiness? How can I prevent birth, death, old age and disease? It's like we see, we are all under birth, we are all under disease, under death, under old age. You may want it or not, but you have to grow old and look ugly, and you have to become diseased, and you have to die. So what have the scientists, the modern so-called scientists, done about these most important issues? They have done nothing. They are setting them aside because they cannot solve them. But we can solve them. In this Krishna Consciousness movement, we are giving the solution how to solve these greatest problems of life. And it's not sentimental. It's working. You may believe it or not, but you just come and try, you'll see it's working. Just like if you drink water, if you believe it or not, you will quench your thirst. Krishna Consciousness is like that. You just try to drink the water and you'll see that your thirst is quenched. You know, for those who are very skeptical, very materialistic, it will take a little more time. They have to be a little more sincere. They will have to invest a little more time. They will not immediately get the results because they are so dull-headed. But gradually, the result will be there. When you drink water, you will quench your thirst. Similarly, when you practice Krishna consciousness, the results which are explained will manifest. So yes, Krishna consciousness is surely a science. In the pure meaning of the word. There's no doubt about it. The problem is that people are so biased, especially in the Western countries. But so Krishna consciousness, it may seem for some people a little dogmatic, sentimental, like mythology, but for some people. But it's just on the surface. If you go just a little deeper, you will immediately discover that it's the greatest science. Nothing can compare with it. Where is the literature like Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world? Nothing can compare to it. Please consider that. And if you are not practicing Krishna consciousness, if you're not sure that Krishna consciousness is a science, then yes, please consider this then. Be a little open-minded and try, do the experiment. You don't have to invest so much time, just try some small steps. You'll see, everything can be verified. Hare Krishna.